Your life with baseball all begins with Little League. Little League is an experience that you will never get back. But imagine if it was your everyday life, being a little kid in elementary school, working every single day to be your absolute best. Because that is the life and the reality of a baseball player in Japan. They've been arguably the best team when it comes to developing Little League talent. They dominated the 2010s, winning in 2010, 12, 13, 15, and 17. And it's funny, because this has also been an era where we have seen several players come out of Japan. They have 120 million people who live there, and out of the 120 million, about 7 million of them are engaged in the sport of baseball. Think of the most relevant player when you think of a guy who came out of Japan and is now in MLB, because the main pitcher that I automatically resort to when I think of a Japan player is Yu Darvish. Yu was great in Japan all those years ago and made his major league debut back in 2012. Darvish has simply been one of the best arms in the league ever since he made his debut. Obviously, Japanese baseball players have their roots stapled in Major League Baseball because of the legend Ichiro Suzuki. Suzuki was known to be a generational player in about every way that you could be one. He was one of the most consistent players of all time and was dominant until the very end. Around the time he left, a new talent came in. That talent was none other than Shohei Otani. Otani is considered by most to be the best player in baseball and is about to be getting a record-breaking contract in this offseason. What Shohei has been able to do in his time throughout the league is something that has not been done since Babe Ruth. Play two ways, be able to pitch and bat at a very high level, and I think that he is a huge inspiration for every single kid across the world. A kid who loves pitching, but wait, they also love to go ahead and pick up the bat and hit a few baseballs. Shohei Otani is proof that you can go ahead and play both in Major League Baseball. And I think that this era could feature many two-way players soon enough. And in fact, we already see one, a prospect for the Pittsburgh Pirates named Bubba Chandler. He was drafted as a two-way player, and maybe whenever he gets into the big leagues, we can see him play two ways. Since Otani came in, we have seen several stars emerge from Japan in general. Back in 2021, we were waiting on Seiya Suzuki. He was a star in Japan, and he won the Gold Glove 5 different times and was an All-Star in Japan 5 different times. We knew when it was his time that he was going to be getting an absolute paycheck. And that is exactly what happened. When the Cubs gave him 5 years, $80 million, we just knew that he was going to be great. In his first year, he was good, but not great. In his second year, he emerged as a star for the Chicago Cubs. He had a .285 average and 20 home runs in his second year. The very next offseason, we saw star outfielder Masataka Yoshida announce that he was posting to enter Major League Baseball. The Red Sox hopped on this quite immediately, and they went ahead and gave him 5 years, $90 million. He had a .289 average and 15 bombs for the Red Sox. It took a bit for him to adjust as a player, and he was in fact a ground ball machine. But when he did adjust, it became very, very apparent to everyone that Boston had an incredible talent with Yoshida. What's even crazier is that Yoshida was not even the most hyped player last offseason coming out of Japan. The one that everyone was talking about was Kodai Senga, a pitcher who could throw a ghost ball, a pitch that was able to strike out just about anyone in Japan, and it translated really, really well into the major leagues. He's only advancing the sport with his unique pitching. I mean, he's been awesome. It's only been one season of him. But it's also been a handful of other guys that have been changing baseball for the better coming out of Japan, and it's only about to be getting crazier. This offseason, we're going to be seeing record money thrown at Japanese talent. One of the biggest guys coming out of Japan is Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the 25-year-old pitcher who's won the Japanese Cy Young several different times. He's going to be an automatic number 1 or 2 starter depending on your situation. He's young, and several different teams need pitching this offseason. Having this guy as an option is going to be huge, and it's really looking like he's going to be a New York Met or a Boston Red Sox. At least those are the two that are right now favorited. He pitched 2 games in the World Baseball Classic, putting up a .245 ERA. This was only a quick glimpse of what was going to be coming for his 2023 Japanese season, because his season was incredible, including a gem pitched in Game 7 of the playoffs. The only worry to have with him is that he did struggle a little bit, I guess, towards the end of the season, but at the same time, it's of course key to remember that he did just win the Japanese Cy Young, so there's really nothing to worry about. He's only going to continue to learn, better his mechanics, and turn into a freak of a pitcher. That career 182 is going to look really, really nice in 2024. But the thing is, we bring in Yamamoto every single time when regarding Japanese talent. What about other talent that's being posted this offseason? Who else is there? Well, I think that is a very good question. Shoto Imaga is going to be very, very good. He's a 30-year-old pitcher, and keyword 30 years old. That's why you're not hearing much about Imaga. Everyone wants young, proven major league talent, not a 30-year-old coming from Japan. But here's the deal. I mean, he's going to be really, really good in any rotation that he's in. Now, in a perfect world, he's probably going to be your number 3 guy. Maybe a number 4, but I would probably go ahead and say he's a number 3 guy at best. Plus, primarily, in his 8 seasons, he has a 2.96 ERA. Again, I expect him to translate pretty well into Major League Baseball, but he's definitely not a superstar or anything. He's just a good pitcher, and I definitely do think that you would want him if you're looking for a starter in your rotation. But there is one major factor about this guy that does not seem to be good. There's a good shot that in Major League Baseball, he would give up a lot of home runs. That's been his only big con throughout his time in Japan. Home runs are something that does not get any easier whenever you get into the majors. For instance, every single Japanese pitcher who has come into the US to play have their home runs literally double. Now, if he came into the majors and his home runs doubled, he would be giving up 2 home runs every 9 innings. We know that in a Major League Baseball scene, that is just not going to work out. But the thing is that he is 30 years old, and I do think that a coach should be able to help him out pretty quickly. So that could be huge for his development. Overall, I do project him going to probably a low market team. If I'm a low market team, this guy is on my board in free agency over a guy like Jack Flaherty, right? You do not want a Jack Flaherty on your team. No, you want this guy on your team because the upside could definitely be there. Yes, you know, he might have a little bit of a floor, but at the same time, I am pretty confident that you will be getting a good player. But let's say that you're a team like the Rangers. Your bullpen is bad, and it's really the one thing that could hold you back. You need to be able to bring in a few solid arms this offseason into your bullpen. Well, I think that issue would be resolved if you went ahead and added Yoki Matsui. Matsui has been a closer in Japan for actually quite a while, and he is absolutely beloved down there in Japan by plenty of fans. He has been an elite closer, and he's actually never even had a down year. He's been in the league since 2014 and has never, ever had a down year. Just incredible stuff. He throws a fastball, splitter, curve, and slider. He's going to be a decent price. He is not going to be cheap, but he's also not going to be a very expensive option. He's very consistent at what he does and very, very reasonable for a team that needs a lefty. Go after this guy. He should absolutely be the next pitcher that you go after if you are in need of a bullpen arm. Now, as far as this offseason goes, that's really all that we have. But the future offseasons are going to be loaded with talent. The biggest guy to look out for is going to be starting pitcher Roki Sasaki. It'll likely be around 2027 when he makes his major league debut, but he's going to be the next generational Japanese player. I'll give you guys a more in-depth video, and of course we get closer to that, but we're very far away from that. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already, and peace out.